This changes everything for the Houston Rockets as their matchup tonight against the San Antonio Spurs has some injury qualities to it, with a brand new injury on the Rockets report that we're going to talk about, along with a couple of factors to lead up to this game. Welcome to Rockets Digest, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show and hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you might be. The Rockets will be taking on the San Antonio Spurs for the second time of their four matchups this evening, and it's a big game. The Rockets kind of in a roller coaster of the past couple weeks, having a couple bad games, a couple latest good games, but ultimately right now the Rockets have one task at hand, and it is the San Antonio Spurs. However, there could be some caveats to this game. As we can see, the Rockets might be without multiple players during this upcoming matchup. Now, a couple of things that we'll talk about in today's show are these injuries and the ramifications behind them, plus kind of what's going on with the Rockets, and if they can get things in gear tonight, how that could flip their season really on its head kind of right away. I know it's just one win, and I understand that the Spurs are a very good team, but I think it just gets you the confidence that the Rockets have been somewhat missing throughout this early part of the season. I know they had kind of an interesting past couple of weeks. Obviously, you go back to the back-to-back-to-back losses that really kind of came out of nowhere in a lot of ways in terms of the Trailblazers and the Kings, but they were able to beat the Bulls, had a close game against the Thunder that ended up, not going well in the fourth quarter, and then a couple of good wins against the Timberwolves and Pelicans. But now it's all about the Rockets trying to figure out what is next and how they can kind of get off this skid. Now, before we jump into the rest of today's show, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. If you download Kalshi using the link in the description and you use code DIGESTNBA, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much anything. Now, whether you're in California, Texas, like the Houston Rockets, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is now live in all 50 states. For sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Speaking of this evening's game, you can trade right now on Kalshi. $100 on the Rockets will get you $164. Hey, it's a pretty good trade if you ask me. It's genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge. You can close positions whenever you want. Again, download Kalshi using the link in the description, and don't forget to use this code DIGESTNBA to get your $20 bonus. So here is the injury report for the Houston Rockets, or rather, let's start first with the Rockets versus the Spurs as we head into the season. They did play one time before back on November 7th. The Spurs did win that contest by 11, 121-110. The second game of the four-game set will be tonight. Then they will play again, really just a week away on January 28th on ESPN. They'll play the final time near the end of the season, March 8th at 7 o'clock on NBC and Peacock once again. But mention those injury reports. Let's go to that now as we can see. Steven Adams, he is going to be out with a left ankle sprain. Got injured in that Timberwolves game. He is going to miss some time, it sounds like. Isaiah Crawford in the G League is out. Tari Eason, questionable once again. He's missed, I believe, 5 consecutive games now. And then Tristen and Fred VanVleet round out the injury report. Now, the one we're going to focus on, of course, is Steven Adams, who was added to this injury report after his ankle injury versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it's going to be a point of contention just because of how good he has been this season. I mean, you talk about his top-tier efficient rebounding. We all know his offensive rebounding is most of the time otherworldly, and not being able to have him out there on the court, it's going to be unfortunate and be a little frustrating. Now, is it going to be a huge deal? Hopefully not. His rebounds and his field goal percentage on blocks, those are the things that you really get when you get Steven Adams, a defensive presence that will get you boards pretty much whenever you want them. But it's just the precipice of the Rockets continuing to be in kind of a frustrating stint and injuries kind of coming up. Now, last time the Rockets and Spurs faced, it was the offense of the Spurs that kind of came true at the end of the game. Derek Parker of Rockets SI talked about the Spurs offense last time these two teams facing. The Rockets and Spurs faced off a handful of games into the season, with San Antonio leaving with an 11-point win, behind 66 combined points between Victor Wembanyama, Harrison Barnes, and Julian Champagne. This is where the Rockets are going to be struggling because Victor Wembanyama is not going to be shut down by Steven Adams. Victor Wembanyama is not going to be shut down by anybody. But Steven Adams can do a dang good job of at least trying to limit him. Now, I think of Josh Okogie in this position to try and go out there and limit the ability of Victor Wembanyama in this game. I think that is the guy that the Rockets are going to lean on when trying to face him, especially on the outer protection of him. Down low, I think it's going to have to be a couple of different combinations. I think you're going to have to look at Alperen Şengün heavily tonight to play on that defensive level, and that is going to be something to watch for in this evening's game. Now, the one thing we also want to look at is Tari Eason, because he's missed past couple games, and it's a huge thing for the Rockets to try and get him back. Here we see the quote talking about Tari Eason, Derek Parker of Rockets SI, saying, "The Rockets see one questionable designation in Tari Eason, who has now missed 5 straight games with an ankle sprain of his own. He's been averaging 12 points on a 48% shooting with some of the best defense on the team. Eason will be needed against the Spurs on both ends." And that's kind of where the Steven Adams injury takes a separate turn, because it'd be one thing if we were just talking about Steven Adams being added to the injury report. That's one thing. It's another when you talk about it with the, already injured Tari Eason on top of it. Now, he's done fantastic since kind of having a not great start to the beginning of the season. You'd like to see more points per game. That also is attributed to the kind of new offense the Rockets have been doing this year as opposed to last year. His defense is, again, the thing that you like, and his defensive ability against a guy like Victor Wembanyama, Harrison Barnes, the list goes on who he could be able to defend versus the San Antonio Spurs. And for now, it seems as though that he might miss his 6th game in a row, as we don't have the official report just yet on whether or not he will play. Now, given he's a game-time decision, it kind of puts into question this game for a couple of different reasons. But I mentioned the guy they're going to have to lean on this game is going to have to be Alperen Şengün. Now, his defensive ability is the one that I want to talk about, because we know what he can do on the offensive side. His defense is where I'm not going to say we need more, but we definitely need him to produce tonight. And he's a good defender. I'm not trying to sit here and say he's not, but when you face guys like Victor Wembanyama, when you face teams like the San Antonio Spurs, you've got to play to a second level, especially being on, prime time, 7 o'clock, NBC, Peacock, World watching. Obviously, an in-state matchup between two teams are at the top of the West currently. The Rockets were just at the 2 seed, just literally felt like a couple days ago, dropped all the way to the 6th. The Spurs now, I'm not going to say butting up to the Thunder, because no one's butting up to the Thunder, but this would be a huge win for the Rockets, who already have one win in the past 3 games against a team above them in the Western Conference. They faced off against Denver. We've had some questionable losses against them, is all I will say, going back to a couple games in the Denver series. I think this could be one that changes the tide. I mean, it wouldn't do too much in terms of standings. You'd jump a little bit closer to the Timberwolves. You'd obviously push the Spurs down, potentially behind the Denver Nuggets. But overall, I think it just helps out the team to get that confidence booster. Now, again, of course, knowing Alperen Şengün is going to be leaned on defensively, we're going to need to lean on Kevin Durant to kind of keep pace with this Spurs offense that we're going to face tonight. 66 points between 3 players. It might happen again. It truly might, especially with the defensive capabilities that the Rockets have shown the past couple games. It just has not looked good. Kevin Durant has been fantastic. He's been pretty much all that's advertised, kind of keeping the same normal stats that you've seen throughout his career. But again, this team has to figure out how to win when Kevin Durant is locked up, and sometimes. And Amen Thompson has done great. And the 3, Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, is a lot of times the reason you win the games. A lot of times the reason you're able to produce. And for right now, for the Rockets, it's going to be all about figuring out ways to attack this San Antonio offense while also keeping pace with them on the other side of the court. So that's the hope, that the Rockets can kind of hang pace with them offensively while also controlling them in some ways defensively. I guess that's what you go for every game, but it's even more stranglehold tonight when you think about the abilities that they're going to be possessed with the San Antonio Spurs. Fingers crossed, because the schedule, it doesn't exactly get easier. You got an Eastern Conference foe in the 76ers and Pistons coming up, both of which are, upper tier guys in the Eastern Conference, and you'll face the Spurs just a couple games after that. And so it's not going to be an easy stretch here for the Houston Rockets. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section on the final score for this game. I'm curious for your 2 cents. I think the Rockets can pull it out. It's obviously in the Toyota Center. That helps, but we'll have to wait and see. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time here on Rockets Digest. Peace out, guys.